Hey, what's going on, guys? Mezzo here again. I'm going to be talking to you guys about the mentality. Just like anything else, whether it's playing musical instruments, playing a sport, it's tackling a new art form that you want to do. I think the first thing is to understand the mentality, right? And I think mindset over skill set any day. I think if you have the right mindset, you'll eventually get the skill set, but the reverse might not necessarily be true. Just because you have the right skill set doesn't mean you have the right mindset to go along with it. So what we look to do a lot of the times in the beginning stages is to make sure someone has the right mindset, to start thinking the right way, because if you think the right way, you're eventually going to do the right things, right? So I'm going to start with one of these, which is one of our fundamental principles. We call it FILWMTU, right? It's not a real word, so you don't have to say like it's like a part of the English diction. It's an acronym, right? What it stands for is fall in love with messing things up, right? You are going to mess up. Right? This does not mean saying you might mess up. It does not mean saying you could mess up or you should. No, you are going to. It's a part of the process. That's how you learn. That's how you become better. So I think that fear, what I consider irrational fear of failure, it doesn't work in an industry like this, right? I think if you work as a doctor, you kind of have a need to be perfect, because if you're not perfect, people lose their lives. If you're a lawyer, you almost got to be perfect, because if you're not, people go to jail. If you're an engineer, you got to be perfect. If you're not, then buildings collapse, right? But in marketing and sales, it's a game of imperfection. It's kind of like the baseball of business, of careers, I should say, right? Where baseball, you really have to, if you bat at 30% average, you're probably in the Hall of Fame, right? So 30% is not good in any other thing, but in baseball it's great, right? And that's kind of how this works. So it's just about understanding that you have to fail your way to success. I think the only for sure way that you're going to fail is if you don't try, right? So you have to fall in love with messing things up. When you come in, ask, get in the game, be a part of everything, insert yourself in things and figure out how it works for you. Say the pitch, go over it a few times, go out there and take a no from somebody. It doesn't hurt as much as you think it does. Nobody really cares anyway. It's just a no. Don't personalize the no's. They're coming anyway, all right? Don't personalize it. Just because someone said no to the client that you're representing doesn't mean they're saying no to you as a person. It doesn't really matter. Learn how to disconnect yourself from the clients that you're with. But most importantly, fall in love with messing things up. You're not going to progress unless you fall in love with it, right? I almost said the wrong thing, and what I was going to say, become okay with it. Don't do that. You don't want to be okay with messing things up, right? That's not enough. You got to fall in love with it to a point where it doesn't hurt you, like messing up doesn't hurt you. You just fully understand that as a part of the process of how you progress. Now, another one of our fundamentals is going to be the communication metrics. We talk to people. That's literally why billion dollar clients come to us to do that, to communicate with clients on their behalf. Personally, I think it's because we're better at it. They might have a different story, but whatever, that part is not important at this moment. But that's why they come to us, because we're just better communicators. This is our field. This is what we do. It's important to understand the three components when it comes to communication, right? In no particular order. It's body language, it's tone of voice, and it's verbal. But I say in no particular order, being facetious a little bit, because it is an order, right? Because there's some of them, they don't all weigh the same. Some of them just weigh way heavier in conversations, right? So there was a study done just kind of seeing, when it comes to an efficient communication, what percentage of that is body language, what percentage of that is verbal, and what percentage of that is tone of voice. Most of you guys can probably guess it. The most important one is body language. Body language makes up 55% of effective communication. I think that's, a little bit of evolution has something to play in it as well, biology as well, because, animals don't necessarily speak. How do they speak? Is body language, right? That's how they communicate. And to a degree, we're kind of the same. Most of our communication is through body language. You can literally hear someone say yes, but you can feel their body say no. Like you can ask your friends something like, hey, you're going to be able to come with me to this, right? And they can say no, but you read their body language, you're like, yeah, he or she is not coming. And the reason you can tell that is because you're reading their body language. So body language tells a lot. The next most important one is tone of voice. Tone of voice makes up 38% of communication. 38%. If you have a significant other or a mom or a dad, you've heard this multiple times. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you said, it's how you said it, right? You've heard that so many times because it is important. Sometimes you can say the right information the wrong way and it'll get taken the wrong way. Even though it is the right information, it got taken the wrong way because you didn't communicate it with the right tone of voice. So tone of voice is so important. So when I'm excited, right, my tone of voice is going to drive the conversation. If I'm more excited, the person I'm talking to is going to be excited. If I'm lower tone, it's going to drive the excitement down as well. So if I'm talking about something that I'm really excited and I want someone else to get excited about, I need to be the first person excited about it, because if I'm not, I can't expect them to possibly be more excited about something that they don't even know about, and I know about it, I'm not even as excited as I should be, right? So that's important for you to remember. And then the last one is verbal. Verbal makes up a measly 7%. So I think in one of the other videos I talked about it, where people think like, when it comes to sales, it's more of, a gift of gab kind of thing. It's really not, right? I think this equation tells, or this study tells otherwise, because it's not just about speaking, right? Communication is also about listening, because if I listen, then I can have the proper body language. If I listen, then I know what kind of tone of voice to approach the situation with, as opposed to just talking and talking and talking, right? You'll see people all the time like, oh, you're a good communicator, you should be in sales, or you talk a lot, you should do sales. That's not necessarily true. Just because you talk a lot doesn't mean you're great in sales, but what you have to do is a combination of everything, right? First, your body language, showing positive body language at all times, tone of voice, and then obviously surrounding that up with the verbal, right? And that's important because you hear people say it all the time. Sometimes, I remember when I was first learning to do sales and I moved into a sales leadership role, I would be training people, and they're like, well, I'm saying the same thing that you just said. Which is true, and I remember back then I struggled to respond to that. It's just true, they were probably saying the same thing that I was saying, right? But they're not using the body language that I'm using, and they weren't using the tone of voice that I was using as well, which means about 93% of communication has nothing to do with what I said. It has everything to do with what I was doing during the process, right? So it's important for you to remember that excitement, that body language and things like that is going to weigh very heavily into your communication skills. Cool? I'll see you in the next video.